We're back on the Exit 52 podcast, presented as always by Jimmy's Famous Seafood, coming to you with a little Boxing Day special, Friday, December 26th, Christmas week. We're in that time of year where you got one more week until New Year's. The time is kind of running together and feeling a little nebulous. My name is Jake Louque. I'm joined by Spenny New Year. How are you doing, my friend?
Been a tough one. Obviously, my dog Tupac, I tweeted about. He had passed away. Thanks for all the kind words, Greg and Desmond and all the folks that have reached out. Unfortunately, lost my dog yesterday morning, which was really hard. Probably will get choked up here, but I really appreciate all that, all the kind words everyone had. I don't think I've ever cried on here.
I think you probably have in, some meaningless December football game. It almost reached these emotional depths for you, but I think this is
probably close to some frustrated tears or something. But I lost my dog Tupac. He was 15 yesterday morning. Never get a dog. It's terrible. He was by my side for my entire adult life, and got me through a lot of hard times. So it's really hard. He had a really hard year, but hopefully he's at peace now. And I don't know that you ever get over losing a dog. It's fucking brutal. And I know I had brought him on the show a lot, and he always, not my usual recording setup here in the holidays and stuff, but I always had his little picture behind me, and he would join us. I mean, I have his phone right here that I had brought because he usually would sit in this bed while I was recording or working or doing anything. Every episode I've recorded pretty much, unless I was traveling or he was, at my mom's or something. So was really hard. And yeah, wasn't the most fun Christmas Day in that regard, but a lot of tears shed. I don't know if you ever stop running out of tears for a dog. He loved me unconditionally. He was with me all the time. And he brought me so much joy and got me through a lot of really hard times. And I'll live the rest of my life hoping that I get to see him again one day. So it's brutal. I know a lot of folks out there have lost a pet too, and I'm sure it brings up emotions when anyone who talks about it. It's really tough. But he went relatively peacefully. He had a really hard year, and he was my best friend. I mean, he was always with me, so I'll always remember him. And thanks to everyone for all the kind words. Means a lot. It's hard, I didn't want to post anything. I'm really glad I did. I posted on Instagram and Twitter, and so many people said so many nice things. So brutal, absolutely brutal. I'm devastated, but it's I'll never have enough words to say or things to do, but I'll just always miss him and have a show to do. But again, thank you, Jake, and thank you to Eric and Brian and Taylor and all the listeners and everyone on Twitter and everyone who reached out. I really appreciate it. Their dogs are the most pure thing that we have on this planet. And he never did anything but love me. And he was fucking famous, man. I mean, if you knew me, you knew him. Everybody in Baltimore knew Tupac. I met so many people walking him around Baltimore, and yeah, I'll always miss him.
Yeah, and he did have a hard year. Even you've talked about it on the show a little bit, and even behind the scenes, maybe even more difficult to picture than you were painting. But you never gave up on him. Always kind of had him by your side. Never got frustrated in some probably pretty difficult moments. And I don't know. I think that speaks to your character, and I think. One thing I love about dogs is they all have their own unique personalities, right? But sometimes they take on the personality of their owner, and that's the highest compliment I could pay to you and to him is that he was just a very sweet, kind dog, very inquisitive. He'd kind of move around the apartment with you a little bit sometimes, when you're there, and kind of, he'd always kind of sidle up to me for a nice little pet or something, which I appreciated. It's nice to have just a nice dog, that embodied Tupac to a T. He's just a sweet little snowball who it always brightened my mood whenever I'd come over to visit. And I know I get to spend some quality time, not just with you, but with him. But like I said, he was kind of an extension of your personality, which is the highest compliment I could pay to him.
Thank you for all the kind words, Jake. And Yeah, I mean, he was the sweetest boy. He loved to cuddle and he loved to be pet. And really, the hardest part for me is that he was my little I would always call him my little fuzzy. And like I said, when I was upset, or when my father had passed years ago or anything like that, I could always just physically touch him and his little curly hair, and it would always make me feel better. So they're the best, but also never get a dog. Just never get a dog. It's horrible. They can get you through a lot, but I don't know. There's just I don't know. Part of you will break off with them. I guess it's worth it, but the pain is immense, and it's hard. And anyone who considers getting a dog, like these last 6 months, he had a medical situation. I kind of tweeted about it a little bit. I don't know if I talked about it on here much, but if you're going to get a dog or you're thinking about getting a dog, like understand I cleaned poop off of him a lot. He would step in his own poop once he got really old and sick, and it's a lot. So if you're going to get a dog, make sure that you're absolutely sure and that you're ready for the tough times, because they deserve in their tough times the highest level care that you can possibly give them. And they're a family member, and they are pure of heart and soul and spirit. So if you're going to get a dog, don't get mad at them. It's hard not to sometimes, and they're stubborn and they tear something up, but they're just a pure little spirit. So
yeah, I think I don't know. I think that's something we could use a little bit more of in this day and age, is people reconnecting with kind of their emotions and their humanity. So I know you're feeling it right now. You're hurting, and I think that's all, like, it sucks, but I think that's a testament to what dogs bring, is they can really draw that out of you. And I think that is necessary. And you get a lot of good times out of it as well. And a lot of, like you said, unconditional love, just always there for you. And it's good to have that in a world like today. I'll keep coming back to it. It feels like we're moving a little too far apart from each other in some ways. We'll never really have that with dogs. They're not going to be, they're not superficial. They're not this, that, or the other. They are always there. And they're always, of pure heart and soul, like you said.
Yeah. So thank you to everyone for all the kind words. And I think that's a great point. I mean, they don't post on Instagram or Twitter, and they don't stream movies. So
they don't check your Instagram likes.
Yeah. They do not check your Instagram likes. They do not care what you are politically or religiously or whatever, as long as you're nice to them. And even if you're not, they'll still love you. So, yeah, I'd say don't get a dog, but obviously do, and take good care of it and love it, because that dog will only ever love you ever. So thank you for all the kind comments. Thank you for the super chat. The chef, Merry Christmas, fellas. Sorry for your loss. Thank you. Says he's been there. And to everyone in the comments, everyone who tweeted, all the listeners, hope you guys had a nice holiday, and wishing you all the health and wealth and good times. And in that same vein, try to connect with your loved ones and the things that you love, and use this time of year to come closer to people and be forgiving, and not let the craziness of the holidays and things like that drive you apart. So
yeah, it's crazy and it's a lot, but it's another thing where it's like you gotta compartmentalize that and just be like, well, if you're lucky enough to even have a family to be around in the first place, it's one of the few times that everyone's kind of getting together and enjoying one another's company. That's another thing that's like, especially as you get older and up into your 30s, and it's just like there's a little bit less of that time. Try to like sit back and really appreciate that. I think that's important. I was trying to do that, the last couple of days, not just with my extended family, but like I've got a little niece now, and seeing her kind of develop her own personality is very cool. So I don't know, just it can be a melancholy time of year, but if you're lucky enough to have people like that in your life, it can be a very, very cool and fulfilling time of year too. So keep that top of mind. Obviously, we're already through Christmas, but if you're going to see them for New Year's or anything or whatever it might be, just keep it in mind.
Certainly. So with that, I guess we can kind of move on to the very fun Baltimore Ravens.
I was going to say, do you want to go from that fun topic to another, fun run of show that we've got here?
Yeah. Let's get into it. So obviously a lot, you guys did the post game and the incident analysis. And then since then, it's just like, we'll get into the Mike Preston story and we'll get into all that stuff. But it's just, to me, it's it's so funny overall, the kind of WWE entertainment of the NFL. And I think so much of this is not football stuff. Like
Yeah.
so much of it is almost like I always say about politics, like politics are not sports. Like you shouldn't be rooting for politicians. You should be rooting for the people and for the betterment. However, sports, on the other hand, has turned so much into politics and into debate and discussion and what's right and all those things. But at the end of the day, like it's a sport. Like it is high school football is the same as the NFL. And there's politics in that and whatever. We can do a whole episode on the politics of high school football or Pee Wee football, or whatever the hell you want to get into.
Your favorite movie of all time.
Friday Night Lights, baby.
Made a perfect picture of that.
Exactly. So I think so much of what we are going to talk about, and it's honestly kind of fun to talk about. Like it's dramatic and it sucks, but it is the theater of it is why the NFL is the monster that it is. Like baseball, we love baseball. Baseball does not have stories that are the Lamar Jackson story, and Mike Preston and what's going on right now. Like baseball has it, but that's why the NFL is the best. They peddle it. They build it up. They build the politicization of football into something that has created it's like too big to fail at this point. Because
the greatest reality TV show on earth.
Yes,
exactly. In a country that has a lot of good options, whether you're talking Kardashians or Below Deck, like none of that has anything on the NFL.
Agreed. So I just find it. Mike Preston releases a story that the Ravens should consider all options with Lamar Jackson effectively on the Baltimore Sun, and that Lamar Jackson stays up too late playing video games, that he
I've got it right here if you want me to just
go ahead. Go through it and hit the highlights.
So what I'm seeing here, I don't have the full article, but the original tweet from at RussellMania621 on Twitter just kind of pulled these select quotes, which are the ones that went viral from Preston. The breakdown of an NFL player's body is natural, but Jackson could help himself. He doesn't need to be up late at night playing video games or falling asleep in team meetings. He needs to train more around the castle instead of only attending mandatory midi camps where he disappears after one day. A major problem, a lot of it on the Ravens, is that there are team rules and then there are rules for Jackson. That's why Baltimore practices in the heat of the afternoon instead of in the morning. Once the Ravens become critical of Jackson, he becomes more withdrawn. It's a shame because Jackson isn't a mean-spirited person, just an overgrown kid in an adult's body. His on-field play has been outstanding. There aren't, let me flip it over here. Kind of cuts off and then it picks up again. Meanwhile, the Ravens should explore all options. It's clear that Coach John Harbaugh has become tired of Jackson, even though he builds him up after every game. He has to, or Jackson will go into his own self-exile. The Ravens should look at possible trades, which could net them 2 or 3 first-round picks. Jackson would love to play in Miami, where quarterback Tua Tagovailoa is no longer the starter, or possibly Las Vegas, where Brady, a partial owner of the Raiders, has shown a fondness for him. Tom Brady, of course. Baltimore should also draft a young quarterback in the early rounds. Right now, the Ravens are a mess. They still have an opportunity to make the playoffs if they beat Green Bay on Saturday night, and then Cleveland upsets Pittsburgh on Sunday, setting the stage for the AFC North title next Sunday in Pittsburgh. It sounds fitting, especially for a league that has become more and more like the
WWE.
Regardless, Jackson has already become a central figure in possible trade talks along with Cincinnati's Joe Burrow, who complained about being unhappy in a city where he once played in a Super Bowl in 2021. So that's kind of the full rundown of like what went viral. This tweet was sent out on December 23rd. So we're talking 3 days ago at this point. And like the discussion still kind of going crazy. And it's funny too, because one piece that was sort of similar to this that wasn't talked about as much was my guy Connor Orr, senior writer at Sports Illustrated. And if you listen to the Heed the Call podcast, he's a pretty regular host on there. He said something kind of similar, but not exactly, where he was like, the Ravens don't have to fire John Harbaugh. They don't have to trade Lamar Jackson, but he called it Project Jordan Love. They should draft the quarterback early to kind of groom behind him so that, you know, so that within a couple of years you can, you know, eat these 2 big cap hits that are coming up, and then move on to the young person that you have developed, the quarterback that you have developed. And yeah, so like that was kind of Orr's take on it. That I think that came out before this, and then we had the Preston one, which obviously has gone, triple platinum. Shout out to Uncle Mike, the King Pot Stir, just ascending the throne yet again, and issuing down another screed that is caught wildfire.
Yeah, and I think so much of that. Number one, it's been cited as like objective fact. I see Bussin' with the Boys, their official Twitters, like the Dolphins have been rumored as a leading suitor for Lamar Jackson.
You know what that is?
This all just happened right before he signed his contract. It was the exact same talking points. Then he signs the contract. They go through 2 years of excellent football. They exercise some demons. They fall short of going to the Super Bowl and winning the Super Bowl. Sure, they played excellent football over the last couple of years. And then it just was so crazy to me that they go into Sunday Night Football with a 7-7 record. Is that what it is? 7-8 or 7?
7-8 now. Yeah.
7-7 record. And the playoffs still a possibility, certainly if they beat the Patriots. And then the moment that they go from, 30%, 50%, 47%, whatever likelihood to make the playoffs, it's like, oh, let's just kick back this same thing from 3 years ago. It's all because Lamar Jackson plays video games. And I agree with one part of that. That's the WWE comment that we talked about. But
you've been saying that for weeks now.
Yes, I can take every individual piece of that. Here's an article from Ryan Mink and Garrett Downing, who are the editor, and I forget Garrett's position. They run social media. They run content for the Ravens. Mailbag: why are the Ravens moving to afternoon training camp practices? July 27th, 2022 at 2 p.m. Gary Humphrey, who I think is engaged with us quite a bit on Twitter, asked a question to the Ravens mailbag. It's a mailbag article. He said, given the heat and humidity, is there an explanation to why they moved their practices to the afternoon instead of being in the morning as previously held? Ryan Mink wrote, the decision to move practice to the afternoon is based on the Ravens' data and research. One of head coach John Harbaugh's best attributes is that he's always looking for ways to improve how the team operates and prepares, and he's not beholden to conventional thought just because that's the way it's always been done. The Ravens have put a lot of analysis into this. The general strategy is that practicing in the afternoon gives players' bodies a chance to, quote-unquote, warm up before practice. Getting on the field first thing in the morning can be a shock to the system. Much of Baltimore's strategy, even in how it organizes practices now, is about easing into the action. Yes, it will be hotter, but you can expect the Ravens to take more cool-down breaks during the hottest days of camp. They will be mindful to players' bodies and monitor them and how they're holding up physically over the course of practice. Baltimore will also be doing more drills on air as opposed to against another player, at least in the early days of weeks and camp. So why did they do that? That was 2022. Because in 2021, Marcus Peters and Gus Edwards both had season-ending injuries in the final week before camp. They lost J.K. Dobbins in a preseason game. They lost all these players. They were so beaten to shit that they said, hey, let's change things. And they did. And I think it's worked. So when did they change that? They changed that in training camp. Has Lamar Jackson ever he goes
this was also
during camp practices.
And this was when they were in the Steve Saunders firestorm, just a hurricane of Steve Saunders, just crap. And then they switch over to Scott.
It wasn't that big of a deal at the time. And then they fired him, changed the practice schedule, and they are in much better health, honestly.
Yeah, Scott Elliott seems like he's been doing a pretty good job since then. So, I mean, it's like, I don't know. You can continue, but we'll have plenty to say from both of us.
So to me, that one thing, and maybe then there's the other side, which is like, hey, they moved meetings around. Instead of having meetings at 7 a.m., 8 a.m., 9 a.m., whenever, they have them at 9, 10, 11, 12, whatever. And is that all meetings? Is that like the quarterback meetings? And maybe he does sleep in. Like all of the things he's listing, you and I have heard through the whispers over the years. We heard in the COVID season that he got COVID. They ended up playing the Steelers in that weird game. And then he basically gave Tyler Huntley COVID. And then Tyler Huntley misses a game. And then they end up having to start was that Anthony Brown?
Anthony Brown got in. I forget. I think somebody else started the game and he had to come in and finish.
Yeah, whoever it was. But like, yes, he plays video games. He stays up late playing video games. Yes. Has he fallen asleep in meetings? Like I remember Lindsay OK in 2018 or 2019 being like, oh, they don't like how he is in meetings, blah, blah, blah. Yes. Like, I think these things have happened, but it's rolling together that all of these things are happening in November of 2025. Like, that's the way that it's being framed, that he's sleeping in meetings right now and he's staying up late playing video games right now. When in reality, Preston said this in 2022, in 2023, before, like, this has already been said. And now it's as if everyone has amnesia and it's the same talking points.
It's the breaking ification of tweets, like of these ML football accounts and all these aggregators breaking in all capital letters as if it's like some report that he is like desperate to get out of here and that the Dolphins are in talks. Like, none of this is actually happening yet. Like, maybe it will, but like, and then we've got Cowherd coming on. Like, I'm literally looking at Twitter right now. I've got Cowherd, like, oh, the Jets, they have 2 first-round picks, like, just connecting the dots, like, and it's all as if this is all like already starting to happen. And no, it's just like something Preston threw out there that he's already thrown out there that, like you said, I think we both pretty much agree on the veracity of some of the stuff, if not like a lot or all of it. Like, yeah. And I tweeted something to the effect too, like, he's a one of one individual when it comes to quarterbacks. And like, he might be difficult to work with at times, but I don't know. It just seems like we already did this when they were in dire straits a couple of years ago and all this stuff starts to come out, and then he resigns and now here we are and it's a down season and we're doing this again. I don't know. There's plenty to say about it, but I don't know if you want to keep rolling.
Yeah. It's overall, to me, it's like, were they saying this last year when he threw 41 touchdowns, 4 picks, and was the most, like, arguably the most efficient quarterback ever? Were they saying this the year before when he rolled through December, crushed the Texans on Christmas, and surged through into another awesome, 1 seed for the Ravens, who ended up playing in the AFC Championship game, and all of these things? And it's like, there's this, it feels like there's always been this, the media guys saw Flacco, and Flacco was traditional, probably there when he was supposed to be for what Peyton Manning and Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers, like the perception of what a quarterback is in the room and all of these things. So they saw that, and then they saw Lamar, who's definitely isn't the first guy in, last guy out. And so could Lamar do better? Could he treat his body better maybe? Or could he be more of a leader in the rah-rah sense and all these things, which Joe Flacco was not, notoriously not. Sure. Could he play better because of those things? Sure. But the biggest thing that I take from that article is the criticism that when he is basically criticized, he withdraws. I do look at Lamar Jackson and say, hey, maybe he doesn't reflect enough about that stuff. And I don't know. But to me, it's also a failure of the organization in the way they communicate with him and the way that they coach him and the way that they have let this develop, and maybe not nipping it in the bud earlier and making things a little more uncomfortable earlier. And probably in 2019, they maybe didn't quite see that rocket ship meteor, like, fucking whirlwind of his success coming. Maybe they were like, this guy's pretty damn good. And maybe they didn't see it all the way. And so everything was positive. Everything was great. And some things fell into place, and they have been scared of him. I've said it before. They are scared to shake him. And I think that is their failure as an organization.
Yeah, and which, to be fair to Preston, he actually did say that in what I just read. He said some of this comes back to the Ravens. And I like, that's 100% it. And like, what strikes me is so annoying about this all coming out now is like, okay, like, yeah, all that can be true and probably is true in some ways, but we're doing that now in a season where, he's had injuries because the offensive line is terrible, frankly, like really not up to par with what they need. And, there was a lot of organizational, not just him, a lot of organizational hubris about this roster. And we're just going to roll in and we're going to be right back in the divisional round and then let the chips fall where they may. You were feeling it. I was feeling it. Everyone was feeling it. And then all that falls apart. And I don't know, it just smacks of like trying to play the blame game. And like, if they want to play the blame game, we can do that. But there is a lot of blame to go around about this season, and it does not all fall on him. And like, yeah, you probably do want him to do better. You probably do want him to be a little bit more of the, Johnny Hardhat type player. But if he's not going to be, and like that's turning into a breaking point for you, then ship him off and go get somebody else and see how that goes for you. I'm not saying that you couldn't improve from him necessarily, but even with all these bad habits or whatever that he's purported to have, he's been a top 5 quarterback in the NFL every year that he's been able to stay healthy. And
I think he was the best quarterback in the world the last 2 years, 2023 and 2024. I think he played the highest level quarterback that there was. And it's no discredit to, you know, Allen and to Mahomes, but like last year he was untouchable, and they go play in a cold late game in Buffalo and he, you know, made a mistake or two. Is what it is. But I think that, and then there's these things where it's like, oh, it's, and we got Judge here. Judge says either this is EDC/Lamar negotiating through the media, or Harbaugh's camp trying to deflect, or it's a bunch of nothing because it's Mike effing Preston. I don't think it's some sort of negotiation. What happened last time? They just gave him the highest deal. Like they didn't win anything. There's nothing to win.
I think the one thing you could argue,
the biggest contract, because the biggest contract is always the next contract for quarterbacks. Like,
yeah, the one thing you can argue is the way they did win in that was the fully guaranteed money. That was like the whole reason. It's easy to forget now. That was the whole reason why it took so long, because he wanted a fully guaranteed deal, and then Watson gets one, and it's like, well, you better fucking pony up. And finally, you know, Jalen Hurts
gave the opportunity for another team to go pony up to the Watson deal for the Miami Dolphins, who he links there, and no one did.
Yeah, exactly. And it all kind of worked out pretty well. I mean, it worked out perfectly for both sides. Like they got what they wanted as far as Steve Bisciotti not having to, you know, be the.
They were happy to pay him the biggest deal in the NFL that was not fully guaranteed and was not the Deshaun Watson deal. They were happy to.
Yeah, and like they keep Steve Bisciotti happy because he doesn't have to be the pariah in the billionaire boys club who gave the guaranteed deal, and now all the other owners are having to do that. So he remains happy. Lamar gets the mega deal. He becomes the highest paid player, and then they go on and they win, you know, a lot of games. He has 74 touchdowns over 23 and 24, you know, not turning the ball over, winning an MVP, almost winning another one. Like it all worked out really well. And like, if you're going to satiate or sate to his habits or whatever, and just let him do in those seasons, or let him do what he wants to do within those seasons where everything's going well, then frankly, I don't want to hear the stuff being thrown out when things aren't going well, because that just reeks of excuse making on behalf of the organization. And I don't know if this was like somebody telling Preston to intentionally run with this. If I know Mike, like I think I do, I think he's just throwing stuff out there to stir the pot and promote his podcast.
He already did this once 3 years ago. He already said this story. So then the national media is like, oh, the Baltimore Sun, which in Baltimore in the last few years has, like, no one cares about the Baltimore Sun anymore. But in the national sense, what do you know about Baltimore media? You know, the Baltimore Sun. That's been the reputable, basically the only kind of media, newspaper, like old school traditional media for God knows how long in Baltimore.
I think you've got Nick Wright swooping in as if he's some like weekly reader of the Baltimore Sun. Like, oh, this amazing Mike Preston article. Like, thank you for speaking truth to power, bro. Like, get the fuck out of here, Nick Wright. I love Nick, but sometimes he's just a little too opportunistic with this Lamar stuff.
A great point by Tala Mahmood 621 here. Said the same thing as McDermott 9/11 article. All of this comes out when there's turmoil or failing to meet expectations. It is. And you said the blame game, Jake. So that is what generates revenue for media companies. The talking point is the great team gets credit. Why is it going well? Let's talk about that. And when a team fails or fails to meet expectations, who is to blame? And we engage in it. We're doing it. We're talking about it right now. Not so we're hypocritical in that sense, but it's like, that's why this is what it is, because the Ravens lost to the Patriots and lost to the Steelers and Bengals while beating the Bengals once and kicked themselves out of the playoffs, barring a miracle. And that's why it's getting talked about. So does Lamar take some blame? He certainly has to. He's not God. He does say he likes to be Christ-like and was washing kids' feet. And you know, there's so many levels to it. And I think this team has really turned into a faith-based locker room a lot. And that's kind of been where John Harbaugh has really taken this the last few years. And maybe part of that is because Lamar Jackson, who speaks about faith as much or more really than any other quarterback, I'd say, in the media, and his availability, who talks about Christ and their faith and God more. I don't think there's a quarterback that does. I think that's what this team has kind of turned into. And things I've heard through the grapevine are like, that's how John Harbaugh and Lamar Jackson relate, is in faith. And they have a solid relationship because of faith. So I think that Lamar deserves a little bit of blame. I think that Harbaugh deserves blame. I think that the owner deserves blame. I think that the GM deserves blame. I think that the executives, that Sashi and Ozzy's still there. Ozzy's still in the building. He's there. Dick Cass, is still there, I think, if I'm not mistaken. I think he has a role. It's a different role. Or one of Moriarty and Dick Cass is still there, I believe.
I think Moriarty is. I think Cass.
It's Moriarty and not Dick Cass. I think Dick Cass is formally retired.
Yeah.
So those guys are all still there. And it's blame in the team sport. And that's the difference between politics and sport to me, is everyone deserves blame. Actually, no, I wouldn't say that's a difference. I would say that is the common denominator. Everyone deserves blame in the political arena and in sports. It is not one person or one group. They are all to blame. They could all be better. I think that they could have handled it better. I think that Lamar is a little bit private, and not a little bit. I think he's the most private, actually. What quarterback's more private? Russell Wilson kind of had this weird facade that he kind of separated and put forward, but he's also like married to Sierra and in the spotlight and at games all the time and stuff. So there's some weirdness to it, but it's ultimately, like you said, just a result of not meeting expectations on the football field, which to me is more of a failure of the front office and of the coaching staff than it is of the crazy talented player. We have DDSQ here who we appreciate the super chat, says, do y'all think the Bills are not afraid of Josh Allen? The Bengals.
The Bengals.
The Bengals have $65 million at wide receiver because of Burrow. Patrick and it's Brady are the only org I can think of where that's way above their franchise use quarterback. That's a great point. The Bengals are terrified of Joe Burrow, and look what happened. It's bad. I think it's a bad thing. The Bills are kind of in a weird spot, and maybe this is the Bills' year. I'll say, like, they have no excuse.
It fucking better be. Let me tell you that. Because
they might not get a better opportunity. We'll see. We'll see what happens with Mahomes and the Chiefs, who are unraveling after basically a dynasty. So it's failure, and it's failure to all parties, and that's okay. It happens. Teams fail. You're good, DDSQ. He said, my bad, spell check killed your message. You're good. We get your point. They were scared. The Chiefs aren't scared of Mahomes. I think the Pats were at war with Brady. Belichick and Brady fought to the death. And that's the other thing I think too. I don't think quarterbacks and coaches like each other. I don't think they're all hunky-dory, the great ones. I think that they challenge each other. It's really the coach's job to challenge the players and be at war with them. The players, often in my mind, like, I think that these special athletes in senses do gravitate to faith and religion because they are kissed by God. Lamar Jackson is kissed by God. He has God-given skill that is better than anyone else. I am sure he feels so blessed. He should be. He is blessed. So he should feel that way. He has been given a chance that others do not have, and he hasn't spoiled it. He has enough money. In the words of, and not to compare Lamar to Jamarcus Russell, but I always think of Jamarcus Russell. He wrote that op-ed to the Players Tribune saying, you guys call me a bust. I am the greatest success there is. I made $50 million and took care of everyone in my town. So they are blessed by God in that sense. And I think that the job of the coach, why was John Harbaugh the one they hired? Why was there a mutiny? Because that's what it took after Brian Billick got a little softer. And look who's a little soft now. John Harbaugh, I think, is a little soft now. The parallels there, I think, are just completely in sync to what this became and how it was earlier in this organization. So I don't think Harbaugh and the Ravens organization, and it's not just Harbaugh, I think it comes from the owner and the GM and everyone, have not challenged him enough. He has put up a wall. They have respected it, to their credit. They kept it private when they were negotiating with him on his extension, but has it led to some downside? Certainly. But it's not, it just creates this, is it Lamar's fault? Is it Harbaugh's fault? And the Ravens? It's both. It's all.
It's either respected or don't, but like you can't keep playing this middle ground game. And then throwing these little barbs out in the media, whether Preston, got this stuff now or a couple of years ago, like if you're going to have him in the building, you're going to deal with this, and you're going to, if you're going to be there with me at my best, then you got to be there with me at my worst, basically, is what this comes down to. Like, I don't know. That's just where, like, if we want to throw around the blame, we can certainly do that. Because I look at this patchwork offensive line. I look at a roster that has failed to meet Super Bowl expectations. I look at a coaching staff that people are long since tired of. You want to talk about, John Harbaugh being, quote, tired of this stuff with Lamar Jackson. I think this fan base is quite tired of this coaching staff, starting with the head coach. So we want to throw blame around.
They haven't developed well enough.
Yeah, totally. And it's like, I love John Harbaugh for what he's done. I think it's beyond time to move away from him with Lamar Jackson. I still love the guy and probably always will for what he's done. And if there's stuff going on behind the scenes that he could clean up, I sure hope he does. But even if he doesn't, I think you've still got another several years of great football to get out of him. So I don't know. This is just one of those situations where you're coming to a bit of a breaking point as far as a salary cap. And, you obviously want to get an extension done. So all of that is we're looking at all of this in the context of that. And I get it, but it's like, I think everyone involved here just needs to pull their head out of their ass and like start rowing in the same direction and like figure out a way to get out of this. Like we talked about like the toxic cloud during all those negotiation years in like 2022 and whatever it was. It feels like we might be heading back towards that. And that's just not a healthy way to run an organization that's trying to win a Super Bowl. So Steve Bisciotti, like that's who I'm going to come back to here. It's time to come down out of the ivory tower and like start setting things right. And I think you got to evaluate every single thing. And if we're going to be evaluating the quarterback's sleep habits, okay, that's fair. But I want you to evaluate everything. That includes the head coach, that includes the general manager, includes everything.
I concur. And to me, I look at the Chiefs, right? Ravens, I've been saying it all year. The Ravens clearly sniffed their own farts. I think they had a bad camp. They came out unprepared. They had injuries. Lamar's out. Nnamdi Madubuike's out. And Marshall here in the comments here, why do they keep starting slow in September? I would even say more, like the Ravens were notorious for being the hardest team to play in September and the hardest team to play at the end of the year because they would come out of the gate like fucking hellfire and they were prepared and they had physical camps. They have been penalized by the NFL for their OTAs and their camps being too physical. And it ended up in that 2021 season with all the injuries and really 2022 as well. So they changed, they shifted, they took preseason less seriously. They've taken camp a little lighter. And I want to point out the Chiefs again. The Ravens ran it back, and I thought they would be fantastic. And I expected that same level of attention to detail, which clearly has faded, which to me is why they have to move on, because the things that have plagued them have killed them. It was a sickness. It was like having a cold, and they let the cold become pneumonia. They didn't go to the doctor, and they didn't get treatment, and they didn't worry about it, and then they fucking died from it. Like that to me is what has happened with the fumbles, with the late blown leads, the inability to get off the field. I want to talk about the Chiefs. The Chiefs traded Tyreek Hill away. They saw where football was headed. They were throwing fucking nukes to Tyreek Hill, and they were the preeminent apex predator in the NFL. And then team said, well, if we want to beat the Chiefs, who have Patrick Mahomes throwing for 5,500 yards and 50 touchdowns, we need to change the way we play coverage. We need to take the RPO away. We need to have two high safeties. And those safeties both need to be like free safety and strong safety, right? Safety play became so much more valuable. Coverage became so much more valuable. So the Chiefs said, well, fuck this. We're going to get rid of Tyreek Hill, and we're going to go get Joe Thuney, and we're going to make it. They drafted Trey Smith. They got Orlando Brown in there. They shored up that offensive line, and that is what enabled their success. And they let the quarterback be the driving force of playmaking while getting rid of probably the most game-wrecking playmaker, wide receiver. Tyreek Hill was impossible to cover. He was the most unique mover. He's like Lamar Jackson in many ways at wide receiver. He was able to beat scheme, all those things. And they said, we see where this is headed. We're going to get ahead of it. And the Ravens didn't. They didn't. They're soft in the trenches. Ryan Clark, who I like when he talks about football, talks about a lot of crazy shit and gets into, he's certainly got a flair for the dramatic. And speaking of smelling your own farts a little bit, but he called them soft. And I think they are soft. And sure, maybe the Madubuike injury doesn't help, but their worst two groups are probably their offensive line and their defensive line, their defensive front. Those are their two worst groups. And, the Chiefs failed this year. Whatever, they ran out of steam. Losing a Super Bowl can be a death kiss. They rebounded from it once and made those moves to adjust after the Bucs beat their ass in the Super Bowl. So I think the Ravens didn't do those things. And I do think Harbaugh is tired. The thing that you can look at in failure at Harbaugh, to me, like the easiest low-hanging fruit is the continuity that they had on the offensive line from last year to this year. Unfortunately, Joe D'Alessandro passed away, rest in peace, who was regarded as a really good offensive line coach, developed some really good players. And I think we saw him get some guys that have even ended up other places, developed really well. And they're replacing with George Warhop. And it felt like that was the final piece. I think the front office and the coaching staff aligned, like, we can get this right. And they failed to do so. And you have Derrick Henry in the backfield. You've got Lamar Jackson, and you don't have a good offensive line. And to me, that's the most simple thing. Like, your defense has trouble, score more points, which they have done against the Bengals and some other teams. Your defense can't get stopped, score more points. So they didn't adjust. They didn't adapt. They ran it back, and I bought into it. You bought into it as well. We both were like, damn, they're just going to run it back. That's awesome. And it wasn't. It didn't turn out well. They didn't adjust. They didn't move forward. They were stagnant. I didn't recognize it. And complacency is what kills football teams. Like, what did the Lions do this year? I look at the Lions, another team that has really high expectations. They lost a great young coordinator in Ben Johnson. The Ravens lost Mike McDonald a couple years ago. There's been a brain drain, and there are physical teams that aren't so physical now and got beat up and bullied. We just watched what the Vikings did to them yesterday with the Lions playoff hopes on life support. So I think that is the first and foremost failure, to draft and develop, an emphasis on develop that offensive line. They didn't do it, and that's what killed them. Like, got fucking Derrick Henry back there to take pressure off Lamar. Focus on your offensive line now. They had some money to shuffle around. They didn't do much, and I thought they would be able to get more from continuity, and they haven't been able to. It hasn't been a force for the Ravens, and the teams that are really good probably have the best offensive lines. Like the Texans, I look at, they've been able to get a really formidable offensive line in place despite even trading away Laramie Tunsil. So that's their failure to me.
Hubris to just look at the guard position, for example, and we're going to move on from Zeitler, and we're going to go young there. We don't value guard all that much. And now Tyler Linderbaum's coming up, and a lot of speculation about how he could walk away. And maybe that'll be the right move, but man, there's just complete unseriousness in the way that they've chosen to build this offensive line. I think maybe some thought that Lamar's mobility could negate some of those issues. And guess what? That's probably a big part of him dealing with these injuries this year. And now, like, the conversation about him, quote unquote, being injury prone is starting to pop up again. And he had 2 years in a row where he missed a bunch of games in a row with lower body stuff. And now this year it's been all over the place, going all the way back to the camp injury where he's getting stepped on, and then the hamstring, and now it's the back contusion, which, yeah, it sounds like he's not going to be able to play against the Packers here. So, like, that's all going to start coming up. And, like, I don't know, it just feels, taking back to the original conversation, it feels like all that is being thrown out as like, oh, well, if you put the Call of Duty away and, you go to bed at 9 p.m. or whatever, and you don't fall asleep in meetings, like, maybe we're not dealing with any of this. So that part of that is probably true, but, like,
when you put it that way, it's just so ridiculous sounding.
Yeah,
that's what's holding them back.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, well, I'm John Harbaugh, and I'm tired of that. Okay, well, maybe you should find another quarterback then, and maybe you should try to, as you enter your age 64 season, maybe you should try rebuilding with another young quarterback and, like, go win that elusive second Super Bowl.
Right.
I'm sure that's going to work for you, John.
Right?
Like,
yeah, get rid of Lamar. Keep going in the year 18. That's how you end up, like, and credit to the Steelers. I think they have really had an awesome year, but guess what? They're fucking physical on the offensive side of the ball. They were like, fuck it, let's get Arthur Smith and invest our resources in drafting tackles and guards and a center and Darnell Washington. And they have 2 backs that play tough. And look at them. They're able to they're better than they've been in years with a 42-year-old quarterback, to credit the Steelers. So your point, Jake, is so spot on. The philosophy moving forward to say, let's get rid of the quarterback, keep the oldest, second most tenured coach, and that's what will be what gets us to the promised land, having a couple picks and not having a quarterback. You, to me, by doing that, are taking 25 years really of sustained, I'm saying success. I think the Ravens organization is a home run success over the last 25 years, despite whatever anyone thinks. They've won at the highest rate. They've won a couple of Super Bowls. Could they have won more? Yes. They also could have easily not had to. Certainly.
Yeah. So everything evens out in that way. 100%.
They are one of the top 5 most successful teams in the NFL in the 2000s. And that is a smashing success to be. They are not 1. They are not 2, maybe not even 3, but they're right there. So getting rid of the quarterback, not having a quarterback, having a couple extra draft picks, unless it's 4, if it's 4 first rounders, 3 first rounders, and 3 second rounders, Maybe, but I don't think the answer is John Harbaugh either way. So if the Falcons or somehow the Dolphins is the most ridiculous part of this entire thing. I've gone crazy on Twitter. If you're listening to this, you've probably even seen it, but how are the Dolphins going to pay Lamar Jackson? And maybe they want to do that. Maybe. I mean, Sean McVay, fuck them picks, whatever. Maybe the Dolphins are like, fuck it. Let's get 2 out of here. Mike McDaniel's great at the run game. Let's bring in Lamar Jackson. I don't think the Ravens are taking 2 firsts. I think that would be the stupidest thing they could possibly do on earth. But maybe 3 firsts, 3 seconds, and whatever else. But they still are going to have dead money from Tua. Even if they move Tua, they're going to have dead cap. Lamar Jackson has all the leverage with $150 million of cap hits in the next 2 years. And then what? They're basically paying what? I mean, Tua on paper,
Tua in 2026.
It's probably if they trade him away, it's probably still $50 million dead, which means $25 million each. So that is at first, at least $100 million cap hits on what is the cap now? I don't even know. I haven't looked at the overall figure. 270. It's so disproportionate. How can you possibly be competitive?
Tua in 2026, $56.4 million cap. They have an out after that year, but it is a $34.8 million dead charge.
After next year.
Yes.
Yeah. So if they trade him, I think that some of it goes away, whatever. It is still so much money to a roster that has nothing. Like they traded away. They don't have Jalen Phillips. Who do the Dolphins have? Jalen Waddle. Their offensive line's actually okay. A running back, an H-An. And what else? Like nothing. They don't have anything. So that one to me is ridiculous. But maybe, I don't know, maybe the Raiders. Maybe I think that's the other one he mentioned. Oh, Tom Brady and Lamar like each other, whatever. Maybe the Raiders go get Clint Kubiak and send the Ravens 3 firsts and 3 seconds. And I could see that, but like 2 firsts, what is the point of doing that? And they need to move on from John Harbaugh if that's the case anyway. Having your 64-year-old coach who has clearly taken his eye off the ball a little bit and didn't have a great camp and let this relationship get that way is, I think, insane to me. So it's the only way to move forward is without John Harbaugh at this point. I think he could still be a good coach somewhere else. Certainly. I think he has an opportunity to refresh himself and think about himself, but it's unacceptable. And I think the Ravens need to take a long, hard look in the mirror. To me, the best coach they could bring in is the John Harbaugh they hired. Like if they could bring in the young John Harbaugh that was an asshole and was insane on the sideline, that's who they need.
Plenty of guys like that out there, probably.
Right. And I think they need a lunatic. And who got in trouble for being a lunatic? Like sometimes I go back and forth with this one, but Brian Flores got in trouble for being a lunatic. And I think he's a lunatic.
Who acts like a lunatic on the sidelines? Robert Saleh.
Yeah. I think they need a lunatic that has so much attention to detail that they know where every thread of cotton in the entire castle is. That's who I think they need moving forward. And I know we're kind of a Ravens-Packers preview, but I think people want to talk about this a little more than Ravens-Packers. We'll talk about that a little bit, but they need a fucking psycho.
Yeah. And that's the most frustrating thing to me about all of this is that Harbaugh was really feeling the heat here after this Patriots loss. That was all anyone was talking about for a couple of days. And then what happens? This comes out and the conversation changes. He might have Don Drapered us here. He might have, if you don't like what's being said, change the conversation. And that's what kind of frustrates me here is like, you're feeling the heat. Now all of a sudden, very conveniently, this report about his practice habits. And maybe it was, 50-50. I believe it was either Mike just throwing it out there to stir shit up, or maybe he got a little nudge in a certain direction. I'm not sure, but.
Right. I don't know. I tend to think that it's just Preston going the other way. We'll never truly know, but and just Truth Bear here says Flores' only issue was Tua, who he has been vindicated for.
Tua, who, by the way, is making Mike McDaniel one of the more joyous, seemingly nice guys in the NFL. Looked like his soul was leaving his body earlier this season. It's Tua. I think it might be time for him to hang him up. Tua is like a coach killer in every aspect.
Yeah, he's gotten weird. He's gotten late stage Russell Wilson without and much of the
success. No success. Yeah, with no pelts on the wall to back it up.
I mean, my curiosity is, let's go through a hypothetical. and we're going to do a lot of talking about this, I think, over the next 2 months, I suppose. The hires will start pretty quickly toward around the Super Bowl or whatever. But the hypothetical is, all right, you get Brian Flores, who is very unique, I would say, schematically in what his defense is, but you can see also the attention to detail. The two paths to me are a defensive-minded coach or an offensive-minded coach. I don't think you go from Harbaugh to another kind of more like delegating non-ball side specific. I do think he's a defensive guy more so, but I think you go get a coach who takes one side of the ball and grabs it. I would be pretty surprised if the Ravens don't get a head coach, they move on from Harbaugh, and it's not someone who takes one side, whether it's offense or defense. That would be very surprising to me. So if it's a defensive coach, you mentioned Saleh, we can use him as an example, but I mean, let's say it is. What needs to happen then is, to me, I think Steve Bisciotti, to tell a billionaire how to do his job, who, I'm not even close, but I think Steve Bisciotti and Eric DaCosta and Ozzie and whoever else need to talk this through with Lamar Jackson in a way that they maybe have not before and be a little bit more upfront about what they want to do. And if you go get a defensive coach, like, you're basically giving Lamar the keys to me, because what's the defensive coach going to do? He's going to bring in an OC. Go ahead, Jake.
The way I see that is he kind of already has them. Like these top four guys in particular, maybe not even as much Mahomes, funny enough, because Reed sort of is this, but like Joe Burrow is the offensive coordinator in Cincinnati. Like Lamar has become more of that under Monken, where he's gotten more autonomy. I think Allen working with Brady.
30 now.
Yeah, like he's going to be 29. Like he's definitely, and we've seen it even in this season. Like he's made some great adjustments at the line. He's much more in command. Like it seems like, and you talked about how they've carried over some of the Roman running concepts. That's stuff he's been working with since 2019. Like
any coach is an idiot not to be able to implement that at this point. It is in their DNA. They've got it.
So that's where I'm like, hey, if you do want to hire a defensive guy, I'm totally good with that, because this defense needs a fucking makeover. This defense needs a mentality change. And like, that's almost as much a priority to me as making Lamar comfortable, who I think you could do with just about anyone at this point.
I think you see, and what I'm the one thing I have about a defensive guy is that I've said it, football is cyclical. It swung around as expected, and now it is having the attention to detail on defense. Steve Spagnuolo, I'm just going to keep using the Chiefs, are the best team of this era. They switched to Steve Spagnuolo, and that defense being aggressive and detail-oriented. That is what Brian Flores and Robert Saleh both are to me. They are aggressive and detail-oriented. I'll say Flores is probably the pinnacle of that, the attention to detail that they have. So it's then getting a great offensive line and letting the quarterback be the playmaker. My fear of that is that football turns over again, as I suspect it will probably in the next year or two. Because what fuels football? Gambling and fantasy football is what fuels the NFL and their business model now. They are completely in sync. There's either going to be a rule change implemented by, I was going to say 2030. I'll say by 2028. By this time, 2028, I think we see either a rule change or offenses are going to change again. There's going to be something in the pass game that derails how we've gotten to this too high, aggressive kind of quick game again. The defense is winning. The defenses have won. So now the offenses will then win, or football will create a rule change to propel offense. That is what has happened over the last 20 years. They want more scoring. They want more long touchdowns, big plays. They're exciting. The average fan is drawn to it. It is the home run. Baseball shifted to home run. Football got to it. Now it's kind of gone. They're going to want it back. So my only fear of going with the defensive guy is that the Chiefs already did all that and were successful with it. So not that Andy Reid is, but it's kind of like, that's the blueprint you want, really. So I get that, and I think it makes sense. But to your point,
I do like the people throwing out the idea of like, get the young offensive guy so that way he can't get poached. You know, if you're going to do that with the coordinator, and then bringing in the old defensive guy with pedigree who's not going to get hired away. Because like, I understand the fear of like the offensive coordinator getting hired away, but guess what? They had a defensive coordinator get hired away a couple of years ago. It's looking like the biggest mistake this franchise has made in a long time. So it can work both ways.
Right. Well said. But the offensive side of the football, like you said, like when you have a 30-year-old franchise quarterback, you're going to pay twice. It's their offense, man. I mean, it really is. And you need someone to challenge them a little bit. Like Josh McDaniels was a seems like kind of a prick in a good way to Tom Brady. I think there was some challenge going on there. I think that's why they're
so in a bad way to some other people too. But
yeah. So I think they need some pricks, man. I think it's gotten soft. And there was that article a couple years ago. Jimmy Smith was quoted, I think, in one of Jeff Strebeck's articles. Like Harbaugh went from hardcore like challenger to a player's coach, and Jimmy was there in 2012 and was there in, when was his last year? 2019.
Yeah, I think so. Either that or 20. But he was around for he was around for the early Lamar era. In fact, I think we saw him post COVID, and I think he was like just off the team at that point. You remember that?
Yes, we did. We saw him at Waterfront Hotel. What a funny night. Looking at Jimmy Smith, I'm looking at the Jackson last year. Whatever. But so to me, it's like bring in the younger, and I know a lot of people here saying Minter, and we got Taylor saying Minter is McDonald 2.0. Our boy Taylor, identical resumes that went through the organization, like Steve company love. That's obviously a hot one. Ravens' job has to be pretty appealing, man. What other jobs are there? The Bengals probably, I believe.
Titans already out there.
The Giants job. But to me, you're looking at, I have an MVP quarterback who, knock on wood for him, he doesn't have, I don't think, major injury. I think he's got a knee that might need some surgery, and I think he's got some rehab he's got to get done, and you need someone that can come in and be fresh. So you got that first and foremost. The Ravens are not the Bengals. Like Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, that's awesome. The Ravens spend money and do not care. They are about being top of the line. So you have an owner that's, I think, like John Harbaugh's like, oh, he's challenging. The owner is not a bad owner to be a head coach of the football team on, I don't think. I think you have a lot of freedom. I think EDC and the front office are probably not going to give there's not going to be a Vrabel-like situation. I don't think it's going to be like, hey, come run the front office a bit. We'll have some help for you. It's going to be like you're the coach and you have say, and you're going to do it with the front office. So I think Minter could certainly make sense. And I think it's a great point that you do want somebody. And that was what was so great about Mike Macdonald, right? Like that's what made, I think, me and you really love Mike Macdonald. In hindsight, I don't think we really thought through at the time how unprecedented of a move it would be to like go to an AFC championship game.
I think we thought through it. I vaguely remember us saying like, yeah, like this is never going to happen, but it needs to happen. And then it didn't happen. And now here we go.
Yeah, we did go. Yeah, you're right. We'll give ourselves credit for that one.
I think it's
pretty unprecedented. Like, all right, you got the 1 seed, you went to the AFC championship game. We're going to fire you and promote someone from within. I don't
that would have been weird. Like even like thinking about it, like that would have been weird for McDonald, like to be like, okay, like I'm just going to take over like my essentially one of my mentors. Like I'm just going to take over for him after he had a great season. Like again, right move, I think, but it would have been, I understand why.
It would have been unprecedented, I believe. I would love to hear another example where that happened, because I think it would be very interesting to consider overall. And a good point here in the chat too. Judge says Flores and Salo would have a network of Kevin O'Connell, McVay, Shanahan offensive nerds to choose from.
All those guys are friends. They all came up together. They all have their Bobby Slowicks and like their surfer bros from the Shanahan tree.
Flores has been hanging out with Kevin O'Connell for the last couple years.
Exactly.
And Salah obviously been entrenched in that world too. So all of that, we'll talk about all those things, but it to me, Jake, you put it so well. You can't hit the restart button and trade away Lamar and keep the coach. At this point, he is older. You need a whippersnapper. You need a younger whippersnapper who is psychotic, who is still chock full of testosterone, although John is still working out like a lunatic. And maybe he'll come kill me for challenging that part of him. He probably still has a lot.
You're the one person defending him on that. Like whenever you put one of those John Harbaugh,
he'll beat your ass, man. Whoever's listening to this, John Harbaugh will beat you up. He would beat you up.
You take a lot of shit for those, but
I think they're just hysterical. But the way forward, and I love John, and I know you love John too. And he's had some bad things and moments, and I think he's slipped up. And I still think he's a great coach, and I think he could still be a great coach. He will go be a great coach, I think, somewhere else. He's a little younger than Pete Carroll, and whatever the hell's happened with the Raiders. The Raiders have just been a disaster of an organization as a whole for God knows how long. So, and that's the thing. John didn't step into that and do that. So maybe we're wrong there. maybe he does go to the Giants and fucking fail, because John didn't have to do that. He walked into a pretty good spot, got a rookie quarterback. The rookie quarterback was able to iron things out, and the defense was able to, he challenged the defense. He didn't take the Ravens out of the dumpster. They had a bad year with injuries.
Yeah, different era too. I mean, this is, we're talking almost 20 years ago at this point. Different era where the salary cap was different, and they had a roster that was chock full, particularly on defense, just up and down, ready to go and win a Super Bowl. And eventually he does do that. But man, the economics ever since that post 2011 CBA, it's just like the clock ticks on young quarterbacks, and the money is ballooning out of control. TV contracts are insane at this point. So I don't know. Like, I think you're right. If they do need to find a version of what he was at the time, and I think Mike Macdonald could have been that, but there are probably plenty of other guys that could be that. But continue.
Yeah, I mean, I love John. I do. I'm a John guy. I've always liked him. I liked when they hired him. I thought he was a, handsome young psycho, and that's what they needed. And they ended up playing in 3 out of 4 AFC championship games, which is the most successful run this franchise has had in a 5-year period, was from the time they hired him through winning that Super Bowl. That was the pinnacle really of success, and how far they went in the playoffs and all those things. And, Lee Evans and the Billy Cundiff, like, that wasn't fucking John. That too. And there's a chance in Doctor Strange's 1 billion universes, like a lot of those universes have the Ravens winning multiple Super Bowls in that stretch, and didn't boil down that way. They played some tough Patriots teams, some tough Steelers teams, but I love the guy. He's been great. I think he's been great for the city, the team, and I think he upheld kind of the standard of playing like a Raven, but the fastball is gone. Like, he's not throwing 100 anymore. He took his eye off the fastball. And again, I think the opportunity was there so heavily this season for them to be so much better. And I will always, think that Matabike injury was a little bit of a death quell, but still the same issues are the fumbling. The same issues are the kind of lack of psychotic behavior, I would say, like the intensity that John has. And I would say the late blown leads, they just haven't been able to figure it out. Those are kind of the 3 pillars to me. It's like he's been a little bit more of a bystander. They fumble the football too much. It's not even fucking interceptions. That's why I always go insane about it on this podcast. It's not picks. It's fumbles. And I watch a lot of football, and I think I'm going to sound like a dick. I think a lot of people that are a fan of a team don't watch as much other football. And so that is the one thing that makes me insane, because the consistency of the fumbling late in the games is unique to the Baltimore Ravens. In Power 5
unique
football,
to them. It's unique to them even a couple of years ago. Like this wasn't a thing. Like, 5-6 years ago, maybe even like less than that. And like now all of a sudden it's turned into this thing. And it's like, man,
they were great at putting leads away. In the Lamar era, they were great at putting leads away.
You can't tell me some of that's not psychological. Like when you see Henry with 1,000-yard stare, and we talked about this on the post game, Collinsworth being like, "Hey, Derek, like get the fuck over it," basically, and like all these other guys just wearing the distress on their sleeves, like. And I think some of that does fall on the players, certainly, but I think what could help them get over that a little bit is like a change of scenery at the top, like just a total like wash the system out. We're going to start back over with a new mentality and a new mindset with a psycho, like you said, that can quell that fear out of them before they get into that situation in the first place.
Kyle Hamilton, man. I mean, he said it after that Patriots game. It's like it's the same stuff. And at this point, like all they needed to do was develop the cards that they were given, whether they asked for them or not. I don't know. I don't know if maybe the coaching staff said, we can take this offensive line and make it better. Maybe the coaching staff said, please get us, one more piece. Either way, the cards they had were to stop fumbling the fucking football through whatever's needed. I don't know. The players have to take accountability for it too. I'm sure the coaching staff has done a million, trillion, zillion ways of trying to not fumble the football. I don't know why it happens. Maybe it is the coaching staff's fault. Maybe they don't emphasize it enough. Maybe it is part of having Lamar Jackson as the quarterback and the team takes the identity. Not that he's a fumbler, but to me, it's often the fumbles are from pressing and not taking a fucking loss. And I think Lamar is the most special one at having that spatial awareness. Like when he knows he's in a bad spot, he will drop to the ground. And Zay Flowers and Derrick Henry and Isaiah Likely and Mark Andrews and pretty much everyone, like those are their key guys that touch the football, right? Like that's who touches the football aside from Lamar. Those guys fight and press too hard, and they have fumbled away games. So Henry, I think, had one season in Tennessee where he fumbled 6 times. I don't know what he's up to now. 4 or 5 right now. So I just don't I don't see that getting fixed now. I don't think there's any reason. I had hope to believe that running it back, the little things, you need to start differently defensively, and they didn't. And you can't fumble the football, and they fumbled worse than ever. Like, this has been ridiculous. This Patriots game, the end of it, Zay Flowers fumbling, it's ridiculous. It's silly. It's embarrassing. I think it is embarrassing, the fumbles. That is the most embarrassing thing. The offensive line, Daniel Falele, who, played great. I thought he was awesome in this Patriots game. That might have been the best game of his career. I went back, I watched this whole game. I haven't watched as much tape this year. I've been, busy doing shit, whatever. That was the best game I've ever seen from him. But the fumbles are consistent. The blown leads are consistent. The coaching staff didn't fix it. The front office didn't fix it either. I'll throw them in there because, again, it's a team sport, and that's part of the team. And it's you got to press reset. And I know you guys said a lot of this on the incident analysis, but it's been just so much. And if they trade Lamar Jackson and they don't get, like Preston said, 2 firsts, whatever, he's an old guy getting his fucking clicks. Credit to him, whatever. Enjoy, Mike. Happy holidays, Mike Preston. No, I have no ill will for the man. Whatever.
For the record, I actually do quite like Mike. I find
I've liked him a lot. Him and John Harbaugh are one and the same. They're old fellas that are doing the job. No wonder he's so relatable to Harbaugh, probably, in all of this. But gotta press reset. Has to be now. Don't care. We can talk about the Packers a little bit, I suppose. We're an hour in, but win this game, Steelers lose, you beat the Steelers, make it. Doesn't matter, man. It doesn't. Unfortunately. And I'm happy that the Ravens still have, I always take pride that they don't play meaningless games. We don't see a 3-14 or season out of them. So draft picks, whatever. I was joking around with some of my friends saying the Chiefs are the only team smart enough to tank. Whatever. Does having a couple higher picks, maybe, you never know. If the Ravens pick at 17 versus 12 or whatever, does it make a big difference? Maybe. But I think John had the chance to fix all this, and he miserably failed. I think they had some shitty hands dealt their way. Lamar did miss time, but they go 1-3 in that stretch. Matabike injury. 2 years in a row, Jake. Maybe we should stop saying that portion. Maybe we're the bad luck. It was like, hey, what could go wrong for the 2024 Ravens if Zay Flowers gets hurt right at the end of the year? Then what did we say coming into this year if Matabike gets hurt and he misses pretty much the entire season? And hopefully, I think he seemed like he was in pretty good spirits walking around after that Patriots game. I think maybe Trippy Kicker or someone was like, "You coming back?" And he's like, "I'm working on it." So maybe that would be awesome if he can come back and play. I hope the best for him and everyone. But yeah, they failed, and it's unacceptable. And I think, like I said, the Ravens are one of the best organizations in football. Whatever you want to say in the chat or in Twitter or whatever, I'm down to see other people's opinions, but not on that one. I truly, objectively think they are one of the best organizations in football, despite taking
they are, and that's what makes a season where you're probably going to finish at or like just below 500, whatever it is, stand out so much like a sore thumb. And that's to their credit. But you set a high standard for yourself, and when you're not living up to it, you're going to fucking hear it, and rightfully so, I think. And especially when you keep running back these same things, and like you said, we keep saying the same issues. And I think Brian was steaming mad, and he also had to stay really quiet on the incident analysis to the point where he had to eventually leave. But he kind of put it as like definition of insanity. We're just having these same conversations over and over again. And it's been more pronounced this year, but it's not just this year. It goes back several. And like, guess what? That's not the standard. That's not, as my guy Hodges would say, Baltimore Ravens football. You went 3-6 at home. Not good enough. It's time for a look in the mirror, and it's time for Steve Bisciotti to take it, and it's time for him to make a change.
It is. So this Packers game, I mean, I don't know, man. Jordan Love, questionable, limited. I think the Packers clinch with the win, if I'm not mistaken. I think they're 9-5-1 going into week 17. And they're in a tough spot too. Michael Parsons, obviously, like they trade all that for him to tear his knee is brutal for them. So they're in a little bit of a tough spot. We saw two teams, and what do we always say the Ravens should do? Maybe they should trade for Micah Parsons. So it's not funny for Micah, but funny. Like we saw Sauce Gardner, Colts trade for him. He gets hurt and Daniel Jones gets hurt and they gave the Jets 2 firsts. And then we see the Packers trade for Micah Parsons and pay him a shitload of money and give away a lot. And now they're without. So that's kind of the fear that the Ravens have always had. I think the fear there might be insane. And Tyler Gaigalis says, put your tinfoil hat on. I mean, this is my tinfoil hat that I have. And here's what I have to say about that Patriots game. Just quickly sidebar. I think the refs handed the Ravens a game.
Yeah.
I think it was right before them. I mean, the Marlin PI was horrible. And there could have been multiple penalties on that play. But either way, like, I think the refs put the Ravens in a good spot a couple times in that game. And they still couldn't take it. I really do. I really, really do. And DK Metcalf is suspended, and there is plenty of reason. Like, I would love for the Ravens to make playoffs. I don't care. Fire John Harbaugh still. I think it's time regardless. I would still love for them to make the playoffs. I think it'd be an awesome accomplishment, and I would just love to see people eat crow, and I think it'll be fun. I love the Ravens. I want them to make the playoffs. I want them to have the shot. Lamar comes back. Who knows? Whatever. I can talk myself into it 10 times out of 10. I think the Ravens.
It's Tyler Huntley's Nick Foles moment. That's what this is.
And Huntley's played good, man.
Yes.
He has, and I'll give Tyler Huntley a lot of credit. You can tell he's worked his ass off on his mechanics. They are night and day. We talked about that a bit, and I think he looked okay in that game. And it was funny hearing him talk about DeAndre Hopkins. Huntley's got those big veneers now. He's in the Allstate commercials. He's talking about how DeAndre Hopkins is Allstate because you're in good hands. You can just throw it up. Has a couple of nice back shoulder throws. Like, I think Tyler Huntley's a smart guy that has made a really nice situation for himself, and he looks good. He has a passer rating over 100. Like, he's this season, I'd say he basically told the Ravens, and I know people make fun. I liked Cooper Rush. I thought, he's had some reps and it might be okay. And I think you can kind of see the failure of the offensive line when he comes in, and teams don't respect a quarterback without speed and can just fucking tee off. So I think that shows that their offensive roster isn't quite what it seems. But Huntley hit the Ravens up. Smart. Ravens brought him on, and he's played good, and he's worked on himself. So I think he's been fun, and I think he's been jovial. He has a good attitude and a good personality, and he's played some really good backup quarterbacks. So I really like Tyler Huntley. I think if you have a Tyler Huntley jersey, I think that's a cool jersey to have. If you like Tyler Huntley, go get a jersey for him.
Get the Utah. Utah have cool uniforms.
Definitely. So love some Tyler Huntley. And not surprised to see the Ravens go in this game, man. I mean, the Packers I think they're winning in, which gives them some motivation. But I think Derrick Henry's kind of pissed off. We'll see. And to me, it's like two outcomes. I think we'll know a lot about John Harbaugh. To me, this is a swan song, is this kind of game, right? Lamar's not going to play in this one. He's doubtful. I don't know. And maybe Lamar does quit when he thinks the team sucks. I mean, it kind of feels like whenever they're having a shitty season, I'm sure. I think he got hit in the kidney in that game. I think that's what's not like being said. Maybe he took a shot at Toradol. I think he is tough as nails and has taken a lot of big hits in his career and has pressed on. But I think he got hit in the kidney, took a shot at Toradol, and I think that getting hit in the kidney, I think it might be a Mike Tyson quote. I can't remember what boxer it is, but it's like, you live your whole life until you get hit in the kidney or the liver. And then there's living with that after. Like, that is worse than getting knocked out on your chin, what boxers always say. Like, the pain of getting hit in the kidney or liver, because those are not supposed to get hit. Your body has done everything to protect them. Your face is put out to get hit and beat up and mauled by a fucking lion. Your kidney and liver are not. So, kidneys and liver. So I think that's what happened. But John Harbaugh, to me, in this game, like, if you still got something, John, if you can still throw 95, not 100, and get it up to 96, like, that will be this Ravens team playing in prime time again against the Packers in Lambeau. No Micah Parsons. Jordan Love, clearly not, like, I don't think he's in good shape based on the reporting and the limited, and it doesn't sound like he's fine. So a lot. And there's that much hope still. I mean, there is. I don't think they can win the Super Bowl. I don't think they have the pass rush the interior pass rush. I could do a whole conversation on their pass rush, but I mean, what do you think of when you think of this game, Jake?
Yeah, I don't know. I think they could go in and win it. I'm not necessarily expecting it. I'm reminded a little bit of 2021 when they played the Packers and they needed a win out of Huntley to go and, kind of save their season when Lamar was out during that kind of stretch. And damn it, they came close. I think that was another 2-point conversion game, if I'm not mistaken, where they didn't get it. And that was when you got Omicron, another, if I'm not mistaken. Weird season, weird game. So I'm thinking probably they'll get close, but they'll come up short. And not that it really matters to me anyway. I don't really see any scenario in which our guy Shador, goes out there on Sunday and gets it done against the Steelers. I think the Steelers are rolling pretty hot and heavy right now.
The Steelers play good football.
Yeah, and it's like it's kind of funny, man, because all these Steelers fans who a couple weeks ago, as recently as that, were all over this Tomlin thing, and even the national media was in that conversation. All of that is now shifted to John Harbaugh. And a loss today or a Steelers win tomorrow, that could mean some much needed change could be coming to the Ravens organization, as the Steelers will go into the playoffs with their 42-year-old quarterback. And maybe they can win the Super Bowl. God bless them if they do. They'll have earned it, but I wouldn't expect it. And that could lead to just running it back again for the Steelers and the Ravens getting a head start on a new era. So I'm looking at it. I'm not rooting for the Ravens to lose. I want them to make the playoffs too, but if they do, I feel like that could be a nice purging of the system moment that they've needed for a little while now.
Yeah, and I think you're right, man. I think we've seen this song a lot of times. We've seen the Ravens play the Steelers late in the season. We've seen Huntley have these opportunities, and more often than not, it ends up in these close games that they just can't quite close. I think that would make sense. Like Josh Jacobs runs the ball hard. I think we see a tough game. And this Ravens team just can't close. They're in close games. I think they're 2-4 this year in one-score games. Let me see what I've got here. Ravens are 2-4 in close games. Packers are 4-5-1, not good either. Ravens putting up 23.9. Packers putting up 24.3. The point differential, the Ravens are +11. The Packers are +61. Average margin of victory, the Ravens actually have the fourth best when they win. They don't win a lot of close games. They usually blow teams out. 16th when they win, which is fourth in the NFL. Packers 9.3, which is 22nd. Packers take care of the football decently, +2 turnover differential. Packers 13th in the NFL in penalties, 13-1 being the best, 32 being the worst. They have 96. The Ravens, the one thing I'll say about the Ravens that they have improved on is they are fourth in the NFL in penalties, which is about to be, I think, John Harbaugh's best finish. So if there's one thing to give them credit for that they cleaned up, it was those procedural penalties, especially offensively. We've seen far less of them, and they did do a good job there this year to give some credit to the staff. So I do think that we have in the chat here, like, you got to win this game. You do. If you're on this team, like, you got to win this game. Derrick Henry, 55 rush attempts. Like Keaton Mitchell, and I know there's some chat earlier. Keaton Mitchell, was healthy scratch earlier. And Keaton Mitchell's a nice player, and I know the Ravens had that. John said that there was a collaboration between Willie Taggart, Derrick Henry, and Keaton Mitchell, which it sounds really nice. And it sounds like, you mentioned Friday Night Lights, like it sounds like a really nice camaraderie thing that basically the running back room said, all right, Keaton, you're going to start it, and I'm going to finish it. And Derrick Henry's going to finish it. And that's all good and dandy. And John Harbaugh himself said, I wish I nixed that. Of course, in hindsight, it didn't turn out well. So this is the game you got to win. Derrick Henry, your offensive lineman, I thought played well against the Patriots. Micah Parsons, not there. Impact run defender. Packers are the best tackling team in football. I will say, I think their defensive line's not in good shape, but they tackle really well. Next gen stats here. The Packers defense has recorded a 9.2% missed tackle rate against called runs this season, which is the best rate in the NFL. The lowest mark by a defense since 2018. And Quay Walker, the linebacker there, who I did love, Jake, I know I loved him coming out, has missed just 2 of his 64 tackle attempts in the run game, which is 3.1%. That is the second lowest mark among linebackers in the NFL with at least 25 tackle attempts. Derrick Henry has forced a missed tackle on only 17.9%, his lowest mark since at least 2018, and the 8th lowest mark among running backs here. So I think that's the story of the game. Straight up, I think Love is going to be a little limited. I think the Ravens can stop the run a little bit. I know Ramondre Stevenson hit that home run. I think they've done a decent job. Jenkins being sick last week, I think, bit them in the ass. There's a lot on both sides, Ravens, Patriots. I think the Ravens would have won if they had Cheeto Awuzie and Marlon was playing inside. I think you're in a better spot. I think that the Patriots were missing some guys too, so it wasn't like the Ravens were the ones that were robbed by that at all. But John Jenkins not being able to play as much. They had Josh Tupou in there. Sorry, Josh Tupou, you're not as good as John Jenkins at stopping the run, and not as good as some of the other guys the Ravens have had. So I think that's a story. Like, it's just going to be cold in Lambeau. Shout out to our guy Brian, who will be there and who can run the ball better and punch the ball in. Like, this is going to be the most fucking old school game you can think of. Tyler Huntley's going to be running around, throwing the ball underneath. We'll see some DeAndre Hopkins, I think. But Johnny boy, I do love you. It's time for you to go. But if you got something left in the tank, let's see it, buddy boy. Let's see what you got. Give Ravens fans just a little hope just so they can crush it. And we've talked about it, Jake. We talked a lot about the WWE, and it really feels like the Ravens went from like Randy Orton, like the villain, to more of the true heel. Like, the Ravens are now.
They're a little like John Cena in 2025. Like, maybe, you know, they project a little bit tough, but there's maybe some stuff that goes on that makes you question the mentality a little bit. Like, is everything okay up there? You know, just maybe make some, you know, unforced errors, some own goals within the media. Like, you know, and I like John Cena. I think he's a quality human being, but I don't know. I think that's probably the comparison that I would make. As not a huge wrestling guy, I can't really draw on.
Sure. I mean, I would say the Ravens at one point, if we want to get into that, like, I think the Ravens were the Undertaker. Like, for years, I think they were the Undertaker. I'll always think of Ben Affleck and Matt Damon at that bar going, not the fucking Ravens. It's like, not the Undertaker, please. I don't want the nightmare. The Ravens were the nightmare. And then I think they kind of were in this different era. I think they had some Randy Orton to them, and they were still kind of scary. It was a little more flashy than it was like the Undertaker. And it was little different, and now they're just like, I don't even know what to compare them to. I want
to get me some Stone Cold Steve Austin. That's what I want them to turn into next season. Whoever this new head coach is going to be, I want you smashing beers over your head. I want you to be loud and proud, and I want you to be, you know, everything that you know, not everything it used to be, but try to create a reasonable facsimile of that, you know?
Absolutely. So if you've got a little bit of that nightmare left, like, let's see it. And I will say this too. I just want to put this out here, and I am Ravens PR, and they do have me on the payroll, even though I say they've lost what Art Modell's great organization was. And my boy Matt Miz hates when I say that. He's like, that's bullshit. I was in the chat here, but I fucking love what Zach Orr's done, man. And last week was tough. They don't have a pass rusher. They don't. And it showed, and that's why this team doesn't, like, it doesn't matter if they make the playoffs. I've been saying it for a long time. Like, Dre Jones is a good signing, or trade, I should say. Not enough. I like Dre Jones. I hope they bring him back, have him in the rotation. But, like, I think he's made a lot more chicken soup out of chicken shit than people will ever give him credit for, ever. And I like Zach Orr. I think he's a good coach. I think he's a tough fucking cookie. I think he has a good attitude. I think his story's cool. And is he the best defensive mind in the NFL? I do not think so. No. Like, Brian Flores, Sala, we talk about Mike McDonald, all these guys. But who the fuck is rushing the passer, man? By far the best pass rusher they got is Kyle Hamilton. And he's fucking beat up against the Patriots when they need him to win. And guess what? They couldn't get a pass rush. Could they have? They hit Drake May a couple times, too. They touched him. They sacked him a little bit. Sack fumble was huge. Huge. And the Patriots have a solid offensive line. And here we go. Darius Washington playing off coverage. Like, I thought that was an error. I thought you maybe call a timeout there. Stephon Diggs on that 4th and 2. I was screaming.
He was a fingertip away from that ball.
I think that showed how incredible of a play that was by Darius Washington. But 4th and 2, Stephon Diggs is going to have a two-way go. You got the corner playing off. Why is the corner playing off? Why is it Darius Washington playing off? Because Marlon has to play on the boundary, because Cheeto's out. So I felt that was a tough spot. And that look to me, I might have called a timeout.
That's the perfect like down and distance for a pick play too. So like if you get too close, you can get washed out very easily. So maybe that was part of it.
And Diggs was on fire. And Diggs has had a really good year. Shout out to Stephon Diggs, who's taken a lot of shit, and you know, he's kind of a freaky, nasty motherfucker himself.
So he's a beacon in a vessel. His post game. One of the funniest things I've ever heard an athlete say.
Oh my God. That call, it was the situation, I think, was tough. And I think I'm calling a timeout there, but I think maybe the Ravens thought we got to do it this way and there's no answer. But that was tough. But I don't think Zach Orr is bad, awful, nasty by any means. I think that Bills game early on could have done a little better, but I think they were doing, I'll go down saying in that Bills game, the fucking Henry fumble was what killed them, not Zach Orr. I think things were going. to plan. The Bills were having to throw underneath. And then that Henry fumble happened. Touchdown, bam. Oh, my God. And the Bills get the ball again.
A couple of dropped interceptions in that game, too. I think there was at least one, maybe more than one. So
yes. So Zach Orr can be better. I don't think he's the best, but I want to give Zach Orr some flowers. And, he's been a part of the blown. Mike McDonald blew leads, man, early in the year. Remember that Dolphins game? Same shit was happening.
Rex Ryan's masterpiece, this hotshot new coordinator that they got in there. It's like, all right, Rex, I don't know if that one aged too well a couple of years down the line.
Matt Miz here, great comment to Arthur Mollett on Marquez Valdez-Scantling in the AFC Championship game. It's just they tend to go down playing that man coverage. They want tight coverage, and tough. But Marshall 8315 here says, when's the last time the Ravens called a timeout to change a play? Because I say this, and I still agree with it, those are Lamar Jackson's timeouts. Lamar Jackson was hurt by that point in this game, but they used to call too many. It felt like 21, 22, 23 even. They were calling all these timeouts all the time, and they didn't have them at the end of games, and it was like them Ravens crazy having to push the ball against the clock without enough time. So I like that shift. The penalties and the timeouts, they have holstered and reined in those two things, I think, very much so, especially this year and a little bit of last year with the timeouts. So all that to say, Zach Orr, I think, has gotten this defense playing a damn good football. The Alohi Gilman trade and the Dre Jones trade, like, I think the Ravens should have traded for Quinnen Williams still, but look at Micah Parsons. And again, like we said, we don't need to rehash the whole thing, but like the Cowboys were probably just going to outbid you no matter what you did and get them sent out of the conference. So tough year defensively. And man, like moving forward, and that's why Brian Flores makes sense for the immediate too, because does having like, look at the Vikings. Who do they have that's like a crazy passer? They got Van Ginkel, who was like a role player for years, and he turned him into maximizing what he can be in that defense. Dallas Turner, who I did love coming out, has taken a little while to develop and is definitely playing in more of a scheme than a traditional pass rush sense. Maybe he is more box score productive in that sense in a different defense like Salah's. But all those things with Brian Flores could make sense considering, I mean, you don't have it. Matabike, who knows? Is he ever going to play as high of a level as he did, even if he can come back? I don't know. They need a lot. And Brian Flores having a scheme that can take smart football players and maximize them a little more than needing maybe talent with the attention to detail he has is a good thing. But I don't know. We're deep in here, hour and a half in. Ravens, Packers, I don't know. Run the football in Lambeau. See if you can turn the football over. And that's it. Simple football to me at this point.
Yeah, I'm going to go Ravens. We'll lose this one 24-23. They're going to attempt a 2-point conversion to go for the win, and it'll go right through Mark Andrews' hands.
I mean, if you're taking outcomes that specific, that's the odds-on favorite, right? We've seen it. We've seen them unable to hit it, other than probably like a fumble on the Ravens' final possession at this point. So that's what they've done. They can't get the ball to Mark Andrews when they need a 2-point conversion or a couple yards, and they fumble on their final possession or close to their final possession, which prevents them from shutting the door. So
it needs to be a George Costanza game. Exactly the opposite of whatever your first instinct is, and like that's going to be you living your best life. Like
Anthony B here. Yeah, it was. Andrews, I think, had like 150.
Yeah, he was awesome. He had an early touchdown. It was one of the best throws of Huntley's career. It's like, holy shit, I think we got something here. And boy, they sure did for about 59 minutes. You want to talk about matchups. I think they had that Robert Jackson guy covering.
Yep. They tried to double cover Devontae Adams, and Robert Jackson gave up that leverage.
Yeah, tough one.
Tyler Louque on that kick was tough for the little fella.
Yeah, that's we got to get in the weight room. We got to start hitting the leg press. We got to, because like he's been pretty good as a rookie. We were talking about our guy Glenn, who's really kind of giving him the business, which I love. I love that that's what Glenn's fixating on is the kicker. Not good. Yeah, we gotta. Everything else has been pretty good, accurate. You know, he's hitting like 93% or whatever. You got to be able to make 56 yarders. You can't have Brandon Aubrey and Cam Little and these guys going out there and just absolutely emasculating you. Luke, come on. Pick it up.
Yeah. I don't know. Everyone's calling the Ravens soft all week. So if you're soft, then don't be fucking tough. in this game. Like that's basically, oh, Lamar Jackson's better than you guys, and you're all fucking soft, and you can't close the door. So if you're soft, John, if you're not hard anymore, pause. Then
John softball.
Johnny softball. Then show it. Show how soft you are in this game, and go out limp and flaccid. That's about it. Like, can you get these guys playing on Saturday night in the holidays? Primetime
Speaking
football.
of which, promo code XM52 at hims.com for 10% off. Just kidding.
Yeah. Yeah, Johnny boy. Maybe time to take the blue pill. The Ravens need the blue pill.
Rose Sparks, things of that nature. Hit us up. Get us going here.
Ravens need the blue pill at this point. They're not hard. They are not hard body. They are soft. And I've been saying it. I made a little coup on Twitter, like 2 years ago? Like everybody starts saying how soft the Ravens offensive line is, so they get pissed off. Like then it can be the us against them. Fuck them. We're physical. And here we are. And they
there's a legitimate science to that. It's called the military, for example, drill sergeants, absolutely doing everything they can to piss their Marines off or whoever it is. And it's like, you want to be more mad at that guy so that you can go out and execute your job on the battlefield, like properly. There's probably something to that with sports as well.
Yeah. So they're saying Lamar Jackson's soft and doesn't want to play, and that he doesn't take well to hard coaching, and all that. So Packers are beat up. They don't have Michael Parsons. They've got 15 guys on the injury report. I think they only have one guy out as of now, if I'm not mistaken. So let's see it. Let's see if you can give one more little glimmer of hope. And then watch the Steelers. Probably, I think Harold Fannin even just got hurt for the Browns today in practice. So, and if Brian, I think whose line is it anyway? I think the Steelers were like 3.5-point favorites to open, something like that. I don't know what it is now. I'll take a look. But Jake, I think you nail it at this point. Like, we've seen this happen before. Fool me once, fool me twice, fool me however many times they've blown games. Steelers are 3-point favorites in a 34.5 total. So is the weather in Cleveland supposed to be horrible? I'm guessing too. Let's
Probably.
see. Hard men create strong times. Strong times create hard soft. Hard soft creates confused hard men. Confused hard soft create man times. Harder men create harder men. Men create soft. Men create men soft. Hard times for men who are not soft, but actually are quite hard. Joe Pesci.
There you go.
There we have it. Are the Ravens soft times for hard men soft? I don't know. We'll see. Saturday night. End of an era, it feels like. Even regardless of what happens. So draft going to be big talk. We'll get back into that, I guess, a little more so here. Orioles season coming up on Exit 52. We're giving a little bit of a eulogy on this season. It's not quite dead yet. You never know. But draft, coach, drama, Lamar. We'll be here doing Ravens therapy. Rest in peace, Tutu, my sweet, sweet boy. Jake and I are taking the Ravens to lose. I feel like the loss in these is always like 22-19. I don't know why. Maybe that's only happened like once.
Yeah, it'll be close. And it's either going to happen that way or they're going to win, and then the Steelers will go out and win on some bullshit technicality. Like Myles Garrett will like not get the sack record, and the Steelers will win by like 1 point on some controversial call. That's how it's going to play.
Something like that. The Ravens are the heel, and the suffering is forever. We are not rooting for the good guys, unfortunately.
I'm not the hero in the story, as I've learned within the last couple of years. I'm being written into the dustbin of history every single year. It's tough.
Being a sports fan is 98% pain and 2% euphoric joy. So buckle up, Buckaroos.
For some people, yeah.
I would say, Boston fans have had it pretty good.
If you grew up in Cleveland and you're like just a Browns guy, you never got into the Cavs, that's a tough break. Like Jets, I feel like a lot of Jets and Mets fans, there's a lot of overlap there. Like and people our age, they have nothing to look back on, really.
98% pain. So I love it. I'm a glutton for it. And I'm ready for more. So a lot of change probably coming. Let's see if hard times create soft times for hard men of hard soft or not this Saturday night on Peacock.
On the cock. Hard and soft on the cock.
Hard or soft on the cock.
Yep.
There you go.
I saw a guy jumps here saying Jordan Love. Yeah, declared out now via Adam Schefter. Jordan Love.
Malik Willis versus Tyler Huntley on the cock, baby.
That's what you sign up for. Great job, NFL. And we still got one more week
Holy
of this.
Shit, yesterday's it's like Clark Griswold. Holy shit, I need a Tylenol.
Yep.
An Advil, whatever he says. Yesterday's slate, hot poop. Absolute hot poop. I guess the closer was a little better. Like the Chiefs covered and made it a game and came down to the end of the game there.
Yeah, you heard Oledikun's voice?
No, I have not.
He sounds like Mahomes. Like he sounds like a mini Mahomes.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's how it should be.
Yeah.
That's how it should be.
It's kind of how it is with the Ravens. Harbaugh or Huntley.
Questionable. Harold Fan. What is the weather in Cleveland? Let's just give a little copium hopium before we get out. Let's see. That's what I want to know.
Give me the Jameis snowstorm when I was in California, I think, or wherever I was watching that.
It is cloudy and going to be 35 at kickoff. So nothing crazy there. Wind, I don't think it's windy either. 3 to 10 with gusts of up to 18 miles per hour. Shout out to Mike Tomlin going for it a lot too. Went for it. And they've got that little fucking mini Hayward tush push going. That's been going well for them.
I mean, one of the more, you want to talk about calls, and we have talked a little bit about the OPI, but my God, the Lions, 2 in a row. What a way for your season to end.
And shout out to Gordon McGinnis at PFF. I asked him, and I think I always tweeted him and Sam Schwartzstein whenever I can't find data. He said that OPIs are not up. They're down actually league-wide, but feels like there have been some high leverage ones this year. Matt Miz says, peep the Max Crosby news coming from Jay Glazer here. Yeah, that one feels.
Does he want out? Is that the gist of it?
Geez, the Patriots have everyone on their team out in this game. TJ Watt still out. Jesus Christ.
Scooping. Raiders told Max Crosby they want to shut him down the last 2 games. Crosby, who's played with injuries for much of the year, vehemently disagreed and has left the building. NFL and Fox has learned this could lead to questions on his future in Vegas. I mean, he should have been out of there.
Oh, so they're trading him.
Probably. Yeah.
They're shutting him down because they're trading him.
Yeah. I
mean, what is him and Myles Garrett? I'm sorry, but what is their point? What is the point of Myles Garrett other than to maybe beat the Steelers this coming Sunday for the Ravens? But
about to get the sack record, and he better get it this week because I'm putting asterisks all over that shit if he does it in week 18.
That's true. I will say to TJ Watt's credit, I think he did get robbed against you know who. Let's see how many games did he play in that season? He had 22 and a half sacks in 15 games also. That's the reason I like that is I actually hope Myles Garrett gets it in week 18. I mean, 17 would be cool for the Ravens. Part of me does hope he gets it in week 18 specifically to make Steelers fans mad.
Yeah, that'll be good.
Extra game, doesn't matter. The history book treats them all the same. Anthony B here has some good copium for us. Matty BK plays in 2026. Ravens trade for Crosby, draft some offensive linemen, and we are back. Yeah, get Max Crosby in that Brian Flores defense, maybe.
Maybe a little Trey Hendrickson, within the division. Little,
little this, little bit of that. We shall see. Happy New Year. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah. Happy Kwanzaa. Happy everything. Hope everyone has a wonderful time. Thanks again for everyone who had kind words to say with me losing 2-2, and thankful for you, Jake. We've been doing this a long time. We're vets. We've seen this song and dance before, but never without John Harbaugh. So, been a frustrating year, and I think we're all ready for some change with the Baltimore Ravens, but we'll see what they can do this Saturday.
And it's going to be a lot of fun if and when it comes, and if and when it does not happen and he is remaining here, there will be some unprecedented levels of anger and eventual acceptance and cope that'll be coming from us. So whatever it is, the content's going to be fresh and it's going to be fun, and we appreciate all of you hanging with us here as we walk this road. So we'll be back tomorrow night to break down whatever happens in the Tyler Huntley, Malik Willis showdown at Lambeau Field. Maybe we'll try to get our on-site correspondent in Brian Black, who will be in-house at Lambeau Field to give us a little bit of a look at the environment there, and hopefully a win. Hopefully he'll be one of the few people celebrating walking out of that stadium. So we'll see. But yeah, we'll see you then on this here YouTube page. If you liked what you saw, subscribe to it. Like all our videos, comment on all of them. Comment on this video if you're watching after the fact. What do you think is going to happen in this game? What do you make of all this stuff going around about Lamar Jackson? What do you think about old Juan Harbaugh and his future here in Baltimore? We appreciate all the engagement and interaction. If you want to keep that up elsewhere, you can find us on social media at Exit52 Podcast on X and on Instagram. Also on X, you can find me at Jake Louque. That's Louque. Spenny at Ravens for Dummies. That is the number 4. Ryan at Barstool Banks. Taylor at Taylor Smythe 10. And Eric at EDITTI 22. Until tomorrow, we'll see you.
See ya.
Arrivederci.